Hey everyone, welcome to my first ever Fantasy Premier League stream. Uh, I'm trying some new stuff, and I hope it goes well. I hope we have some nice discussions. Honestly, I'm hoping that you guys can help me as much as some of my thoughts may help you. So we're gonna start off with saying thank you to Sam Copeland with the 7-month resub, saying get that pre-show hype going. I appreciate it. We got algorithmic player, Daddy Cool, Soul, Isolda, Arna, Rich. We have Killer Maja, and we have Mickey. Groger's in the house as well. Welcome, everyone. I'm a bit uncertain how I'm going to structure this. Um, so I guess I just have to start somewhere. I learned to speak English in the US as a kid, so I may refer to the game as soccer. If that's a deal breaker for you, I just wanted to put that out there from the get go so that you don't have to waste your time. Um, this is my team. We're going to be talking about the team. We're going to be talking about whatever input you have. I will be watching the chat very closely. So if you have comments, don't hesitate to get them out there. Uh, Isolda asks, "What is this though? Fantasy League? I want to see you play chess." Well, my show title has a big "This is not chess" announcement, so I don't feel like I have misled you. I tried pretty adamantly to note that this is not gonna be chess. Fantasy Premier League is just like any other fantasy sport for the biggest sport in the world. American football, we have baseball, nobody really cares. In the whole rest of the world, other than the US, it's all about soccer, and Premier League is the biggest one, the English League. And this is going to be I'm not going to cater to those who don't know what Fantasy Premier League is. Um, you guys are mispronouncing football. Yeah, sorry about that. Yes, next step is where am I going to start with the team? I guess we're going to start at the back. Already some questions about Foster. So Foster is the new keeper for Watford. Watford is a team that nobody really understands, but they have kept themselves in the Premier League for a couple of seasons. They are one of the worst defensive teams. So having Foster as a your one of your main defenders is maybe a risky strategy. But on the other hand, I am a fixtures over form kind of person. So I really appreciate good fixtures. Unfortunately, you guys cannot see this, but yeah, you can see it. So he has Brighton at home, then Burnley away, and then Crystal Palace at home, and that's pretty good fixtures. Foster, I'm hoping, is a better keeper than Gomez because Gomez was a complete disaster. I was looking at some stats and it said that Watford had conceded, they were one of the best teams in terms of not conceding too many shots. But even if they weren't getting too many shots against them, whenever people shot. They basically scored all the time. They had one of the worst defensive records, but one of the best kind of underlying numbers. So I think it's an interesting pick. Fabianski is a very popular guy. but I just hate the fixture list uh, for um, for West Ham. So let me see if I can find Fabianski. Yes, here. Fabianski. This is the ownership percentage. So we see De Gea is the most owned player, and then Pickford, and then Fabianski. But if you look at Fabianski's fixtures, it's Liverpool away, very difficult game. Arsenal away, very difficult. Everton away could be tricky, and then we have Chelsea, United, and so on and so forth. So Fabianski is an interesting choice in terms of getting save points. And I mean, he's a brilliant goalkeeper. I had him for most of the season last year. But for now, I think those fixtures are putting me off. It's all about the save points, not the clean sheets, says Soli. Yeah, but I have chosen to go in another direction. What about Patricio in Wolves? Asks Turger Burger. Um, I haven't really considered him. I wasn't thrilled about the fixtures, as I remember. But yeah, he could be an interesting pick. Honestly, what I'm thinking is I'm considering trading away Foster after the first three games. Kind of, if he's a success, I may want to see him having home matches against the top teams. But if he's not a success, I'm thinking about trading him away for a triple Palace. And I know that's insane, but sometimes tripling up in defense can be very interesting. So if Palace has a good start to the season, their fixtures from game week 4 until 8 is Southampton, Huddersfield, Newcastle, Bournemouth, Wolves. Uh, I'm really liking the Palace fixtures for clean sheets if they continue in the same fashion as last the end of the season. He's not going to get so many points with West Ham, I think, says Salomcam. I assume you're talking about Fabianski. And you're saying that he got a lot of defensive points because the Swansea defense wasn't great. But the thing about the Swansea defense is that, the West Ham defense is also terrible. So it's not like he's still gonna have a lot of chances to make saves because I think the West Ham defense is not great either. Having defenders from the same team is a high risk strategy, says Raven Thomas. Yes, yes, it is. But on the other hand, um, it could pay off. So at some point during the early season, you're going to have a wild card anyhow. So there's a thing about that you wouldn't risk tripling your defense in game week 10, for instance, because then you're going to have that same core of players over 15 game weeks. So after you play your first wild card, it's going to be more important to have players who can perform pretty much regardless of opposition and also spreading your risk. As for my strategy now, I don't think it would be terrible having three Palace defenders for five game weeks. Uh, because number one, I can, if it doesn't work out, I can wild card. And also, it's if it doesn't work out, it's I'm gonna have some big bragging rights. Um, Do you really want to use one transfer for a goalkeeper? Asks Killer Maja. That's a very good point. So on goalkeepers, I am not entirely happy. There's a lot on my team that is set, but Foster is not the perfect pick. And so I'm still undecided what to do. I've had him for some time. I think he's the most likely to stay on. Um, Only recently I switched second keeper to Stenklenburg because I had Foster in a pairing with Ryan. And Ryan, I think, is very interesting from Brighton. I had him a bit last season. Brighton is focused on not conceding too many goals. He's a good goalie, and he rotates really well with Foster. So I could pick someone other than Foster, but there's no one with 8 game weeks of perfect fixtures. I could use another point 0.5 to upgrade Stenklenburg to Ryan, who rotates well with Foster. I have some options and I'm not set, but at the moment, I'm thinking this is an interesting strategy. Sully asks, what are you thinking on Cedric versus Bednarek? My thinking for the defense is that I care more about structure than individual players at the moment. Um, well, I have some individual players I really would like to have, but when it comes to Bednarek and Van Bissaka, um, well, Van Bissaka, he's set on the team. He seems to be having the right back position at Crystal Palace, so he's not going anywhere. As for Bednarek against Cedric, my thinking is that Bednarek might be a starting 4.0, in which case I want him. And if it seems like he's not starting, it's not. I'm not going to upgrade to a different Southampton. He's not in the team because he's Southampton. He's in the team because he's 4.0. So I'm thinking about switching him to Peltier, who started the friendly match today. And so I want to have two 4.0s. And then let's look at the premiums, the premiums on in the defense, because this I do think a bit about. So if I'm now gonna go to defenders, this is the percentage people selected by, which is kind of ironic because Trippier and Maguire is not gonna play the first game week, so they are the two most owned defenders, and they're not gonna play the first game week. Um, but I want to switch to a different stat, which is the points per match. Now, in the game, it says PPM, which is normally points per million, but in the Fantasy Premier League website, it means points per match. And here we have Robertson and Davies with very high scores per game. We know that Robertson only started playing every single game at the second half of the season for Liverpool, and when he was playing, he was doing brilliantly and scoring a lot of points. Um, I'm gonna do this step by step. I see that the chat is discussing Aguero versus uh, Jesus. But yeah, obviously I prefer Aguero. But I'm gonna come back to that discussion after having done defense and midfield. As for the points per match, Robertson and Davies both score very well. Davis is gonna be playing left back for Tottenham. His main competitor is Danny Rose, who is rumored to be transferred away. But regardless, I think Davis is a better player. I'm not sure, but I feel like he has been very impressive when he gets the chance. And also, Danny Rose was with the England squad in the World Cup. So if Danny Rose is coming back, it's not going to be for the first 2 game weeks. Robertson is interesting because Liverpool hasn't really been regarded as the best defensive team, but they were really impressive last season, getting so many clean sheets. And Robertson, his crossing ability has been outstanding, and he's had so many good crosses leading to assists. Also, I think he might be on some set piece duty. I know that Davis certainly is with his left foot. So in general, that is actually something we saw last season of FPL as well, is that the left backs are really interesting because many of them actually had set piece duty. So I remember last season I had Chris Salova, who was potentially for Huddersfield, who was potentially both on free kicks and penalty kicks. We're gonna go down a little bit on the points per match, and we're gonna find some other players. I have noted that Monreal with Kolasinac out, he has actually a 4.6 score per match. So that could be an interesting player to keep an eye on. I want a lot of Arsenal players, but I do not like their chances in the first 2 games. I don't think Arsenal is going to do great against the other top teams. They start out against City and Chelsea. But after those 2 matches, I'm going to want to transfer a lot of Arsenal people in. Double Palace, I'd say that's a bit risky, says Loomster. Yeah, you must have missed the when I was talking about adding another Palace, a Palace goalkeeper after game week 3. So no, I think Palace is a good bet, and also they did so well at the end of the season last year. But we're gonna go further down on the uh, points per match, and Bednarek surprisingly in, but he has very few matches for Southampton. I want to highlight Saku, who has been amazing. I know a lot of people are preferring Van Aanholt, but I think Saku is very interesting. 4.3 per match, but even more so, I'm going to switch from points per match to bonus. I think as the bonus system, I think it's one of the best ways to evaluate defenders, because for the players playing midfield, attacking, so on, you're just going to get a lot of bonus when you score goals and such. But for defenders, bonus is actually a really big deal in your total score. And Saku here made 18 bonus points, on par with Otamendi and Jones and Trippier. And you got to remember that Saku was only playing for half the season. He was only playing for Palace since January, I think. 1,600 minutes. So I think that bonus points for Sako is what has made me go for him. He's a bit cheaper than Van Aanholt, but also that ability to get the bonus points is unreal, and I want that. Um, I want that in my team. Last year, I picked Azpilicueta over Alonso for the same reason, that I thought Aspi can get more bonus points. I think that was a mistake. I think Alonso should have been a must-have. But I do appreciate bonus points in defenders, and Sako of really bringing those points. And here's Monreal too. I'm gonna say that if you don't want my guys, Monreal is a very good pick. So as far as I know, the bonus system hasn't changed. I don't really know how to stay up to date on if they do little tweaks in the bonus point system. But if the bonus point system is the same, then I think Sako, he has the fixtures, he has the ability to get the bonus points. He's very interesting. Also, remember that bonus points for defenders, often it's the defenders on the weaker teams that's going to get a lot of bonus points. Because if you have Tottenham defenders and the game finishes 4-0, then the bonus points are going to be awarded to the attackers. But if you have a team like Palace, if they win 1-0, for instance, then the bonus points are going to go to the defenders. So defenders on low scoring teams that keep clean sheets, those are the ones getting the bonus points. Okay, we're going to move on to the midfield. Sanchez not worth it in my opinion, says Mats. Um, I am, I could agree with that. But the thing is, and now we're gonna talk about structure of the team. Um, my problem is I have a team that I very much would like to have after game week 3, but it's not the same team I want after game week 1. So I'm gonna put in a couple of players that basically this is how I'm hoping my team ends up in a couple of game weeks. So I want De Bruyne. I think he's going to be the regular for City, and he has the amazing fixtures. I would quite like Mkhitaryan. I would like Aubameyang. And then to finance this, I'm going to have to downgrade one of Robertson or Davies. Let's put in, what are we going to put in for 5.0? Well, let's put a placeholder in. Defender 5.0. Let's put in Trent. So something like this is what I'm hoping to do in a couple of game weeks. But De Bruyne is not going to play game week 1, having had getting to the finals of the World Cup. Mkhitaryan and Aubameyang, I don't really believe in for the first 2 fixtures, playing City and Chelsea. So parts of my team are placeholders for other players I want when the fixtures turn around a bit. KDB is a better choice than Alexis, says Costas. Yes, but he's not going to be playing the first game week. So then what are you going to do? Are you going to have him in as a substitute, giving you 0 points, costing you 10 million, 10.0? Or are you going to have Sanchez for the first 2 game weeks and then put in De Bruyne when you know he's ready? So this is some of the things I'm struggling with. How to time when to get the different players in. You need a Spurs attacker, says Slumcam. Yeah, you could have a point, but the thing is, I don't really see how I can afford it, nor can I see how I'm going to prioritize anyone over others. So actually, I don't think I need a Spurs attacker because I think the other options are better. I really want Aubameyang. I really want Aguero. I really want De Bruyne. I really want. Well, I want Salah just not to end up way behind everyone else. And then what am I going to do? I could downgrade one of these 6.5s. I could downgrade one to 4.5 and get another very strong midfielder. But then you're going to have other problems. Thank you, Smoola, for the 7-month resub. Mane is 6.5, as is Ericsson. So a couple of drafts I have had Ericsson instead of Sanchez. But I decided that Sanchez has a better kind of uh, max level. I think there is a chance of getting two double digits with Sanchez, and I'm not sure that's the case with Ericsson. Keita is pretty good for 7.5, says Jay Williams. Yeah, but the thing is, I'm already maxed out on Liverpool players. So I don't see how that's going to happen. Also, 7.5 means I need to change the structure of my team. And I really think that's a big part. You got to decide what kind of, 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 of people you want in the team. What kind of price points you want in the team. So one of the most shocking things I have done is that I lost the 7.0 striker, the role where everyone is choosing between Saha and Arnautovic and Toulson, who had a really good game today for Everton. Um, I don't have that 7.0 striker. I started out with it a couple of drafts ago, but then I decided if I have a 7.0 striker, I cannot get De Bruyne. And I decided having De Bruyne is more important than having a third striker. So Kamara is just going to be, he's not going to be playing for Fulham as far as I understand. So he's just going to be at the very end of the bench. You didn't even consider Kane. He's a no-brainer for me, says Solomkan. Um, no, well, no, I didn't really consider Kane. Kane doesn't score in August. I thought everyone knows this by now. He doesn't score in August, and yeah, I guess there's also doubt as to whether he's even going to be playing the first game week. He played every single match for England, making it to the bronze final. So no, I'm not sure about Kane. I have a lot of faith in Aguero. He has, well, he's every time he plays, he scores goals, and he scores so many of them. He's the player capable of 4 or 5 goals in one game against a defeated opponent who's feeling depressed about a bad first half, and then just everything starts falling into place. So I'm feeling good about Aguero. I'm having Sanchez. No, I'm having Salah, uh, partially because of the ownership percentage. So if you go to the ownership, let me go up a bit. Salah is above 50% ownership, and he's also going to be captained by a lot of people. And I think in terms of staying with the pack, it's good to have Salah, because if you don't have him and he performs in the first couple of game weeks, number one, you're not going to be able to get him in because of team structure, because it's easier to downgrade people than upgrade. And also, you're going to be way behind on points. So Salah is an ownership thing. And then let's do all players. De Gea, maybe I should have had him last season. I don't really do expensive goalkeepers. Um, Ederson, I guess, is interesting. He had a very good season last year. Perhaps you should consider Aubameyang, says Costas. Yeah, no, I'm definitely considering how I can get more of the players I want into the first draft. But I struggle because if I want Aubameyang in for Firmino, number one, I'm not gonna get Firmino, who I think is a fantastic player. But also, I'm gonna have to downgrade my defense from game week one, and I'm not really interested in that. So I think Spurs has two good fixtures. Um, Basically, it's a bit of a wait and see strategy because I have a lot of players who could perform very well. And if one of them has a fantastic start to the season, then I can change my plans. I feel like the way I structured the team right now, it's pretty flexible. Begovic has a great schedule in the beginning, says Costas. Um, yeah, that's fine. I'm not having a Bournemouth goalkeeper. Um, I don't really believe in their defense. Pedro will not play, says Salah. Interesting. The And then I have a question for you, Chad. So tomorrow is the Charity Shield. The winner of the league against the winner of the cup, something like that. And Chelsea is playing City. So my question for you is, if Pedro is playing and Hudson Odoi, if both of those guys are playing in the Charity Shield, do you think that they will also play in the first game week? Lukaku is not playing the first game week, Mats. So I'm not going to have a Lukaku here. But do keep in mind that the fact that I have Aguero at 11.0 means that I can switch to Lukaku at any point. And that's what I mean about team structure, is that I'm pretty happy with this in terms of it. It's pretty easy to switch to a player I want because I have kind of set those uh, the correct prices. I mean, there's lots of options at 11.0 for strikers, and there's options for 10.0 among midfielders. So I can switch Sanchez to my preferred 10.0, which probably is De Bruyne. And I can switch Aguero to Lukaku. I can switch him to Kane, depending on if something happens. Udoy is amazing, but I doubt he'll get a lot of minutes. One half maximum, says Raven Thomas. Okay, that's interesting. I think you're wrong. I think he's gonna start the game, and they're not gonna substitute a midfielder halfway into the game. Um, but yeah, of course, playing City is a different challenge than playing Arsenal. But I saw his match against Arsenal, and he was so impressive, so impressive. And I think for him to play against Huddersfield in the first round, I think it's a no brainer. They're gonna preserve Azar for the Arsenal game, and then Odoi is going to play against Huddersfield. That's going to be my. That's what I expect. But also, that does mean that in game week two, if Udoi is not playing, Kamara is not playing, and Bednarek, if he's not playing game week two, then I'm going to sit with two defenders uh, Palace defenders against Liverpool. So in terms of my plan so far, my weakness is game week 2, uh, because in all the other game weeks I can always put in a Palace defender, and hope for some points. But game week 2 against Liverpool is going to be tricky. Pedro will be playing in the first game week for sure. He has been brilliant in preseason, says Alex. I've gambled on Morata myself, says Alex. Yeah, I can't fit him in. Mods does think that Charity Shield is going to be a lot of the same as we see in game week 1. And I agree. I think that makes a lot of sense, that it's the premier to the to the league starting out, and you want to have those relationships being built before the first competitive match. So I'm gonna be on the lookout for the lineups for tomorrow's game. But as long as Aguero and Pedro and Hudson is in it, I'm feeling pretty happy with those choices. Daddy Cool with the 3-month resub. Thank you. Um, yeah, so this is my team. And my team is different from most other people's teams. As I mentioned, I do not have any of the 7.0 strikers. And that's going to be, well, it's made my life easier to some extent, because choosing between Saha, Arnautovic, and Toulson would be very, very, very tricky. So I guess for most of you guys, that's going to be uh, a decision you have to make. But this is the structure of my team at the moment. I'm pretty happy with it. Um, I get my concerns at the moment is that I'm gonna take a big hit in game week 3. I'm considering hitting for -12, which I know is a lot, but if it helps me build value or getting the players I want, then I'm gonna be okay with it. And I tried last season not to do hits, and it just made me depressed because my team value stayed poor for the entire time. And even though I had a fantastic season, I was top 1,000 after 11 game weeks, but I couldn't keep that placement when I wasn't able to kind of trade away my dead weight. So the season before that, I was just hitting like crazy. And I may have taken something like 20, 25 hits, and still I finished top 5,000. So I do think that you can get a good placement with taking hits. And I tried to do the the good thing, the thing that most of the FPL Twitter community recommends, by avoiding hits at all costs, and it didn't work out for me. So I'm gonna be basing my strategy on hits being okay. I'm not afraid to take a couple of hits. And I also think that my strategy may change depending on how it plays out in the first 2 game weeks. If Sanchez is performing, if Pedro is performing, maybe Richarlison is doing poorly, then I can go take away Richarlison for Mkhitaryan instead. If Davis is being a monster on the left back, I can take out Robertson instead of him. and I do believe that this team structure will give me a lot of flexibility. Are you planning on an early wild card, says Kroger? Actually, at the moment, I'm not. So at the moment, I'm planning to do a lot of hits in game week 3-ish, and then kind of ride it out until game week 8. So right now, I'm thinking wild card after game week 8, which I don't think is early. I think it's late. I think most people who do well in the overall standings wild card between game week 3 and 6, because you do get a lot of information during the first couple of um, of rounds. The reason I thought that this 8 could be interesting is that that's when the Palace fixtures turns around. So if I wildcard after game week 8, then I can avoid this disaster, which is Arsenal, Chelsea, Spurs, Man United, and really try to get that Palace boost while it still applies and get off the train um, before the fixtures turn around. What do you think about Azpilicueta this season? Asks Alex. Um, I don't know. I had Azpilicueta last year over Alonso, and that was brilliant for some time because I mean that's how I got into the top 1,000 by game week 11 because Azpilicueta was absolutely killing it. Of course, then he was a right center back. Now he's a right back. I really don't know. I guess he could be good, but he's a bit expensive. So no, in general, I'm a big fan. I'm curious to see whether, well, you know what? Let's go here to defenders and then bonus, because he is the top bonus scorer for defenders. And it's interesting to see whether that will remain the same when his role in the team changes. But being one who cares a lot about bonus points for defenders, Azpilicueta is certainly one of my favorites. Liverpool is up 5-0 against Napoli. Are you kidding me? 5-0. That is just unreal. Are you kidding? Wow. Yeah, no, because now I get nervous because part of my strategy is to take out Firmino, and then I'm gonna lack the triple Liverpool coverage. The real MVP is not anyone on it. It's Hammer's shirt, says Hoodfresh. Thank you. I try to please. William says Ederson, Alonso, Davis, Sacco, De Bruyne, Son, Keita, Mayer. Well, I just from yeah, I'm not sure Alonso is going to be as effective as a left back. He's pretty expensive. De Bruyne is not going to play game week 1. Son is going to go away to the Asian Games after game week 1. So De Bruyne and Son I would definitely not have in my first team. You got Kane in there. I'm not sure he's going to be starting game week 1 either. So in general, it's a difficult thing to figure out. How are you going to cope with the fact that there are some really good players that you want in your team, but who aren't going to be there for the first game week? And I think, for example, if you really want Kane, I wouldn't put him in the first game week team, but I would put I would put Aguero, and then I would keep 1.5 in the bank so that you know that you can switch to Kane immediately. And yes, it's going to cost you 4 points to make that switch. But the chance of Aguero scoring 4 points um, in that first game week really compensates for that. So if you have players in the World Cup who you want in your team, I would do. I mean, it's basically what I'm doing. I'm having Sanchez instead of De Bruyne, and I'm hoping that he scores some points in the first couple of game weeks, and then I'm switching to De Bruyne. Even if it's a hit, I'm hoping that the amount of points Sanchez manages to get will compensate for the -4. Also, Kane has the August curse. Yes, Alex. That is also a good reason not to have Kane. How long will the Asian Games last? Asks William. Um, Honestly, I don't really know. I would have paid a bit attention if I wanted some of the. Well, if I wanted him. That's also a thing. I think Son is not a regular starter. Well, I think he's going to get a lot of competition from Lamela and Lucas Moura. For some time, I actually had a Lucas in my team, but I decided he's too much of a uncertainty. I think Ali and Ericsson and Kane are pretty much set, and then that third role could be split between Lamela, Lucas, and Son. I'm not sure Son is considered the regular starter, even though he's amazing when he is starting. Turgerberger says that City playing against all of the 6 promoted teams from this and the last season is my reasoning for paying an extra million for Ederson. Yeah, that makes sense. The thing is that I cannot find the money. At the moment, I have 500,000 in the bank. So if I could find 0.5 more, then maybe I could upgrade to Ederson. But I don't really see how I'm gonna find that extra zero point 0.5. I guess it would have to be Richarlison for I don't even know what the 6.0 midfielders are. So it's going to be something like Richarlison to Townsend. It's not going to work out. Ericsson definitely is playing deeper. And I mean, but the thing is that he played really deep last season as well. That was my watching Tottenham having Ericsson on my team for basically the whole season. I was very often frustrated. He was always very deep, but then he would make the kind of Ramsey-esque runs up the pitch, and also he would have some of his amazing passes and so on and so forth. So I definitely think Ericsson is playing pretty deep. Um, and I think he was for the previous season as well. And he still scored a lot of points. He's simply an amazing player. But yeah, he may have overscored his expected. He was scoring some free kicks and so on and so forth. Son will be back after the international break, says Sves. So that means he will be back for game week 5, I think. Let's see. So the international break is September 2nd. And then he's going to be back for the Liverpool game. Are you playing the titled arena? Asks Not So Grandmaster TV. No, I'm not. Juan Mata going under the radar, asks ATI. Yes, yes, he is. As a matter of fact, not too long ago, my team was. I had the 7.5. I mean, not so long ago, my team was Tosin up here, and then Mata instead of Sanchez. And the only reason I changed that was for structure. I decided that Sanchez is a very good placeholder for De Bruyne. And if I have a 7.0 striker, I'm going to have a lot of trouble getting De Bruyne into my team. So I decided to go with Kamara as the bench, last guy on the bench in every game. And then getting upgrade to Sanchez. But Mata has been good as far as I can understand. Gilfy probably has good value this year, says Hoodfresh. Um, yeah, but he's point one 1.0 more expensive than both Richarlison and Walcott. And I also thought he was going to be good last season. I had him on my team for a little bit, and that was very disappointing. I know that shouldn't matter, but it's always annoying those guys you have on your team and then they don't perform like you hoped for. Some other shout outs I want to give is Redmond. I know it's silly, but almost every single game week 1 I've had Redmond on my team. And there's this fan of Southampton I talked to, and he's like, no, no, do not get Redmond for no chance. But the thing is that he's a decent player with a lot of Premier League experience, starting on a wing position for 5.5 with an okay fixture. I think Redmond has to be someone you consider. What are the other players I've had? I mean, the first guy I had when the season started was Lukman, but it would appear at the moment that he's not going to be playing for Everton. Groger is going for the full Scandinavian setup: Eriksson, Gunnarsson, Sigurdsson, and Goodmanson. Very good. It's more of the Icelandic setup than the than the Scandinavian one, I would say. Iceland really impressive at the moment, both in team competitions and in terms of having some high-profile players in the Premier League. Yeah, no, the problem with Everton has throughout last season was that they couldn't decide on how to play, as far as I understood. They just couldn't set their 11, and they never got going. I had so much faith in them. I really thought they were going to have a great season, and they just couldn't play together. Yeah, one of the guys I had early on was Coleman, who is a bit of a FPL legend, but I don't trust the Everton defense. So I walked away from that and decided that Coleman is not for me. Connie 5.0 is bankers. I'm pretty sure that's a Norwegian term. Bunkish. On my team, says ATI. Yeah, no, I definitely considered him. And as a matter of fact, I still am. So I have 0.5 in the bank. So I do have the option of upgrading Hudson Odoi to a 5.0 midfielder. And then you have to make the decision between Carney and Kennedy. Kennedy with the pretty horrendous fixtures, playing 4 of the top 6 in the first 5 games. And then you have Carney from promoted Fulham. Yeah, I don't really know a lot about him. Is my one of my problems. I had Tom Carroll last year, and people were talking, oh, he's on set pieces and he's very good value for 4.5. But he ended up going the whole season without doing anything. And as a kind of wild card pick, Kante could be your guy. Kante could be your guy. Yes, he's a pretty defensive midfielder, but he's so good for bonus points, amongst other things. I mean, his ability to tackle and win the ball fairly means that he gets so many bonus points. And there has been some talk of him getting a bit more attacking position since this new signing, Jorginho, is going to be the holding, the lowest midfielder. And Kante is, well, I mean, he's pretty much the best player in the world. Yes, it's not like he's shooting the screamers and getting the goal points, but with a new position, maybe he can do that as well. And at the very least, if you're looking for a 4.5, 5.0 defender, Kante is going to give you 3 points. He's going to give you, on average, he's going to definitely give you 90 minutes of play, as well as a clean sheet and some bonus points once in a while. So yes, he's not going to get the goals, but he's going to be a very stable source of points. And he's going to get some bonus points from doing all the tackles. His ability to be in the right place at the right time is stunning. And also, look at these stats with the yellow cards. How often do you see a defensive midfielder whose job it is to tackle everyone and everything get 3 yellow cards for 2 seasons? 3 yellow cards. He's incredible. And also here, both Leicester's winning season and this past one, he got 9 bonus points. So yes, he's not going to score the goals, he's not going to get the assists, but he does get clean sheets and he gets the bonus points through his tackling and short passes. Is Salah 13 million worth it if Mane is taking the penalties? Asks T. I don't believe it. I don't believe Mane is taking the penalties. I think Firmino is going to do it. But this is the kind of information that you get from the wild card, right? You don't want to use your wild card until you get a lot of the questions you have preseason answered. So you wanna find out who's taking the penalties. Um, yeah, but yeah, I think Firmino is gonna do penalties. I seriously don't believe Mane is doing them. I don't know. He's very egotistical, and honestly, that's what you want in a in an FPL player. I mean, I think Firmino is one of the most selfless attackers there is. And I just like him better than Mane because of that. Mane is always going for the shot, never for the passing it to the guy who has a open goal. You want that from your FPL team, but at the same time, I think Firmino is just the better player. The reason he gets so few yellow cards is his charming smile, says Alex. No, yeah, but the thing is, he doesn't get on the ground too much when he tackles, and he's very, very precise. I think he's just a fantastic player, and it's not an accident that he doesn't get the yellow cards because he's going by the book most of the time. What about Jota? Asks Salah. Yeah, I don't know. I guess I have the 6.5 people to get Jota in, but for the moment, he's a bit of a wild card. Um, I don't know what to think about him. I've never seen him play. And I think Richarlison and Pedro are very well placed at priced compared to their ability and starting time. So I'm happy with my choices right now. But Jota he's going to be interesting. But the thing about all of these kind of off picks, right, is that if they do perform, everyone is going to get them. It's not what's going to decide the season. If there's one player who's performing massively compared to his price, such as Vardy and Mahrez in the Leicester season, then everyone is going to get them. That's not going to be how you get a top placement because everyone has them. So in terms of doing very well, it's often about picking the right premium players, and I'm pretty happy with my selection so far. Okay, so Past Pawn asks two Palace defenders, are you expecting them to improve this season? Well, I'm hoping that they continue the way they ended the last season, because then they were getting clean sheets just about every single game. So if they can continue that defensive form, then I'm feeling very good about Palace defenders. I'm even considering getting a third one. If they had to have a good start to the season, I'm considering getting the Palace goalkeeper for game week 4. Who will be top 4 according to you? Asks Udai. I have no idea. The thing that from a fantasy perspective, it doesn't really matter which team does well. But I'm big fans of Tottenham and Liverpool. I think they are doing an amazing job scoring so many goals and also building a team in good fashion. I I I do not understand the Tottenham supporters who's angry about there not being any signings. I think Tottenham has built a very good squad over the past couple of seasons, and it's refreshing to see how they are able to do this without spending all of the money. And honestly, the times they have spent money, it's been a bit of a failure. I mean, they splashed out on Aurier, for instance, and I don't think he has been very good. And the guys who have been good, Ericsson, Ali, Kane, so, I mean, a lot of them are just English youngsters who were given a chance and proved themselves. Burnley have some easy opening matches. Did you consider some of their defenders? Yes, very good question from Groger. If they say that Burnley is about to buy Ben Gibson from Middlesbrough, and when he was in the Premier League, he was a bonus point magnet. So if Gibson could get in at 4.5, he's very, very interesting. Because Burnley do have fantastic fixtures. But I decided that I have this plan. I have my 5.0 spot, and I'm gonna be spending that spot for Sacco. I think Sacco is better than the Burnley defenders, but if I could get a Burnley guy for 4.5, for instance, Bednarek, if I could get a Burnley guy for him, I would very strongly consider that. Okay, I think that's gonna be it from me. This has been my little fantasy Premier League experience. I hope you enjoyed. Please feel free to give me some feedback. I might do more of these in the future. For instance, I'm thinking maybe I can do a FPL stream for when I decide to use my wild card. So if you have any suggestions about timing or feedback on what I should be talking about instead of what I did talk about, feel free to post in chat and other stuff. My next stream is gonna be blindfold bullet chess. It's 1 minute chess without seeing the pieces. It's chaotic and entertaining. It's gonna be tomorrow at 4 p.m. Oslo time. That's 10 a.m. Eastern. So I hope you join me then. The schedule is in the chat. And that's it from me. Bye, everyone.